Female Football Focus, switching the field, keeping you updated with the latest women's football news.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is you're listening to this and whatever you're doing, welcome to episode 5 of Female Football Focus. In today's episode, there was a little bit less drama than last week. I say a little bit, maybe not, especially in the England game. So this week we'll be discussing all of the round of 16 matches, especially that England game, which certainly had a lot of drama in it, as well as who plays who in the quarterfinals. So let's kick off with the first game in the round of 16, Germany versus Nigeria. So Pop opened the scoring on her 100th cap in the 20th minute with a header from a corner. VAR then gave a penalty 5 minutes later after Magul was kicked in the knee. Correct decision, and the Brits makes it 2-0 to Germany. Nigeria came close in the second half and did well to hold the Germans, but a mistake at the back in the 82nd minute secured Germany a place in the quarterfinals for the 8th consecutive time. Norway then took on Australia, and it certainly was a very interesting game. Norway got the first goal in the 31st minute with a lovely ball into Herlovsen, who slots it home to give Norway the lead. In the 42nd minute, Australia thought they had a penalty after handball, but it was overturned by VAR. A very close one and another long wait. In the second half, Australia also thought they had one back, but it was disallowed for offside this time. They had some good chances, but it wasn't looking like it was their night. But then, in the 83rd minute, a corner into the near post was flicked in by Kellen Knight. Although, I'm not sure she did actually get a touch, but it doesn't matter. 1-1. We go into extra time, the first of the competition so far. It was a great game to watch. Both teams had chances. I think Norway had more and the better of the chances. They certainly came the closest by hitting the inside of the post and the crossbar. Williams, the Australian keeper, also did a superb job to stop Norway from scoring. And just when you thought this game didn't have everything, we saw our first straight red of the competition. Utland was pulled down by Kennedy. She was pulling her shirt, and I think she was kind of the last man, but I'm not too sure it should have been a red. And like I said last week, it's all down to opinion, and of course it was checked by VAR because red cards have to be checked and potential red cards are checked, and VAR clearly also agreed, so Australia are down to 10. Australia did manage to hold on though and bring it into penalties. Norway score their first, and up first for Australia, probably their best and most inspirational player, Kerr. The person you'd have thought most likely to score struck the ball wide and maybe even over. Like, was the pressure too big for her? I guess it does get to everyone, even the most experienced. But I do feel for her. Like, she's done so much for Australia, for the team, but that just kind of summarised Australia's night. Like, it's just not their night. Anyway, Norway take their second and score, and so Australia needed something, and it just got worse. The keeper saved it. Good save. She went for power. Not the best placing, but it doesn't matter. A save's a save. 2-0 to Norway still. Norway then scored their third, so Australia had to score to stay in it, and they did. Finally, 3-1. It wasn't enough. Norway calmly score their fourth and win 4-1 on penalties. What a brilliant game this was though. It was really entertaining. Okay, so now on to the dramatic England game. Now before I start, let me just say, I've never seen anything like this in my life. I don't know what I just watched. If you watched the game, what was that? It was honestly awful. So let's talk about it. So the drama began in the 12th minute after the referee gave England an indirect free kick on the edge of the 6-yard box after what certainly looked like a back pass from the Cameroon defender where the keeper picked it up. I said it straight away that it was a back pass and it should be a free kick, and the ref clearly agreed and gave it. Like, I can see why some possibly wouldn't give it, but I mean, I think most refs would have given it because ultimately it was a back pass. She deliberately touched it back to the goalkeeper and the goalkeeper picked it up, so indirect free kick. Spot on. And Cameroon certainly weren't happy by this. Here is where we see our first bit of appalling behaviour. One of their players spat on Duggan. Yeah, like full on spat on her arm. It's ridiculous. That's awful. But actually, before that, in the first 5 minutes, Paris got elbowed in the face. That was probably the first bit of awful behaviour we saw, and I can't believe she didn't get sent off for that. That should have been a red card. I mean, she got a yellow, but still, that's not enough. It's really poor by Cameroon. Awful play. Anyway, back onto the indirect free kick. Literally, the whole Cameroon team stood on the goal line. For an indirect free kick, it has to touch someone before it goes in. So Duggan laid it off to Horton, who struck it with some power right into the bottom corner. 1-0 to England. Then, right before half-time, Lucy Bronze drew out the defenders to free Ellen White in the middle, who took a touch and put it past the keeper on the turn. Superb goal. Ellen White is on fire this World Cup. Now I have to say, when it went in, I personally thought she was offside. And when the lino flagged it, it kind of confirmed that for me, and I was like, oh no. But then it still gets checked by VAR, and VAR proved that she was onside. She was clearly onside. So 2-0 to England. Brilliant. The VAR proved that she was onside. Quite clearly. She was more onside than some of these other decisions. But apparently not for the Cameroon players. Apparently she was offside. They started pointing at a TV screen in the stadium and were convinced that she was offside. But I don't get it. She was clearly onside. I don't know what they were looking at. Paris was offside on the left, but there's no argument there that she was interfering with play. No one was near her. She wasn't in front of the keeper. I don't know what they wanted. She was onside. This is just frustrating talking about it. Again, it's really poor from Cameroon. But they kept arguing with the ref about something that has just clearly been proven. I really don't get it. It's honestly shocking behaviour. Anyway, once they finally stopped arguing with the ref, they got in this huddle and basically refused to play. What? I've never seen anything like this. The ref should have honestly taken more control. She should have either just blew the whistle for half time because there was literally 1 or 2 minutes left, or she should have started handing out yellow cards. What were they doing? Oh my god, it was frustrating to say the least. Anyway, they eventually decided to kick off and play out the last couple of minutes till half time. And then, at half time, it came out that they were claiming racism. What? That goal was nothing against them, it was simply the rules. She was onside, and so it was a goal. If it was the other way round, if that was a Nigerian player against England, she would have been onside and it would have been a goal. I've never been so mad watching a football match like I was watching this, and I'm still mad just talking about it. So someone from FIFA actually had to come out to talk to them. How many times can I say it? She was onside. Right, on to the second half, I think. And the whole thing seriously affected the Lionesses. You could see it. We didn't play that great, but then I'm not sure how many teams wouldn't be affected after all of that. The mistakes from us began right at the beginning of the second half. I think it was the 48th minute. Late poor clearance from Bardsley gave Cameroon the ball. It was played to Ngene, who cut it back to Unshoot, who rifled it past Bardsley. Goal. But after being checked by VAR, it was proved that Ngene, who played the ball to Unshoot, was offside. So no goal. It was very close, but again, a rule is a rule, and she was clearly offside. But not for Cameroon. Cameroon, of course, weren't happy by this. If they weren't happy about the England goal, they were never going to be happy about this goal. And they started screaming against the ref and the fourth official. Even the manager was. But the referee had absolutely no control whatsoever. The ref was really poor. She didn't control any of these situations very well. Yeah, it was really wrong by Cameroon, but the ref could have certainly done a better job. Anyway, what a let-off for England. I think we got a bit lucky there. But 5 minutes after, Greenwood played a really poor back pass back to Bardsley, which didn't even make it, and the Cameroon substitute was straight onto it, and luckily, Bardsley made a good save to prevent Cameroon from scoring. But given the circumstances, I don't think we did that bad. Credit to the Lionesses, they did a really, really good job. So all credit to them. And so in the 58th minute, a low corner from Duggan into Greenwood gave England a 3-0 lead. That's some of the creativity I was talking about last week. Superb technique there by Greenwood. It was a perfectly practiced corner and a brilliant goal. Really, really good technique by Greenwood. It's so hard to score on the turn like that, low into the far corner. A really great goal. Cameroon can't complain about that one. So Neville made a couple of subs and Taylor came on and she got extremely close. A lovely ball through allowed her to dink it over the keeper, but some great defending cleared it off the line. So close. Then Kirby was brought down in the box. Ref said no, then VAR told her to review it and she still gave no penalty. Now, I think it was a penalty, especially from some of the others that have been given. She clearly brought down Kirby in the box. Like I said, I don't know anymore, and to be honest, I don't think the ref wanted to deal with Cameroon again. If she gave the penalty, what would Cameroon do now? Would have been a nightmare. But it's not like we were losing, so I'm not going to complain too much. Just when you thought the game was over and all our players had survived, Takunda, with a really poor late challenge, brought down Horton. Absolutely no need for it. It was shocking. It was so late and her studs scraped down her ankle. It was really poor. It could have been really nasty. It went to VAR and they said only a yellow. I think it should have been a red. You've certainly seen challenges like that have been given a red. It was really poor and it was almost like she saw nothing wrong with it. The whole Cameroon team supported it. But anyway, 3-0. Thank God that game's over. We progressed through to the quarterfinal and hopefully we don't see another game like that. I think partly it was the ref's fault. She was really poor. She should have dealt with the situations better. She made some poor decisions out there. And she's really lucky that no one got seriously hurt. It's always been talked about the refs in the women's game aren't that good and that it needs to be better. And I thought coming into this World Cup we were going to see something different. And I think we have seen an improvement in the standard of refereeing, but not everywhere. This game was reffed terribly. So much more should have been done. And like I said, she's really lucky that someone didn't get seriously hurt. And after the game, Neville actually did a great interview. And I totally agree with everything he said. Rules are rules. And one of the big things he said, let me read part of it, and I quote, he said, "I didn't enjoy it, the players didn't enjoy it, and my players kept their concentration. But those images are going out worldwide and young girls are seeing that behaviour and it's not right. There has to be a standard of behaviour that you have to do. And my players did that." I totally agree with what he said there. And he's right, that's going worldwide. We just broke another record in the UK. 6.9 million people watched that game. It's great for the women's game. It's an unbelievable record. But they watched that. That was really poor. I think the way the Lionesses dealt with it actually kind of helped because I think England got so much credit from that. It's just embarrassing from Cameroon. It's I don't get it. I don't think anyone really understood it. And I don't get how you can support that. And I think Neville said it perfectly. I'd really recommend you going to listen to his full interview if you didn't see it, because everything he said was so true and I really respect him for that. On the other hand though, the Cameroon manager gave an awful interview and supported his players. So he said, and again I quote, "Occasionally referees make mistakes, but ultimately the referee made a lot of mistakes." Right, so, okay, yes, the ref was poor and made a lot of mistakes. I mean, Cameroon should have had 1 or 2 red cards, probably even more, if she'd have actually dealt with the game better. But if he's talking about the goals, they were all backed by VAR. There is no argument there. There's no question about them. A rule is a rule. What is he talking about? And then, just to make it even worse, he said, again I quote, "Of course I'm frustrated, but as I said, football is about fair play. We showed fair play. It's football." This blows my mind, right? What game was he watching? How can you say that elbowing someone in the face, spitting on a player, and late tackles, to say the least, are fair play? That's ridiculous. That is poor. And I read yesterday that FIFA are reviewing their performance, but something has to be done. That was honestly the worst game I've ever seen. Cameroon was so dirty and their actions were, I can't say it enough, they were awful and it was embarrassing. And I cannot believe that their manager is insisting that that was fair play. I need to calm down again after that. Whew. Right, let's hope FIFA do something and we don't play a team like that again. So, moving on. France played Brazil in a very close game. I didn't think it was going to be this close, to be honest. I thought France were going to win a lot easier than they did. So, France put the ball in the back of the net first in the 23rd minute, but the goal was disallowed and a foul on the goalkeeper was given. Now, this is a tough one because it was basically a 50-50 challenge and the keeper didn't exactly catch it. And so I'm not really sure about this. Like, for this goal, I don't know if it was the correct decision or not. I think it could have gone either way. Again, down to opinion. It was tough though. It went to VAR and VAR disallowed it. A lot different to the England game, where it was clearly a goal and clearly wasn't a goal. But this time, in the second half, France did score 1-0. A nice run by Diani and a low cross in. Gova threw herself at it to make sure she got her name on the score sheet. Cristiane then hit the bar 3 minutes later for Brazil. Then, in the 63rd minute, a cross defended by Renard bounces into Thaisa's feet, who puts it in, but a flag is raised. Not definite until checked by VAR though, and VAR proved she was onside. 1-1. Cristiane then scored for Brazil, but this time they were offside and the goal was disallowed. And something I certainly didn't predict, extra time. A great piece of defending kept Brazil from scoring. Then a free kick in the 107th minute into Henry, who volleyed it home for the hosts. 2-1 to France. A really close game that could have gone either way. Host France, I guess you could say, kind of got a bit lucky. France progressed to the quarter-finals. In the next game, Spain took on champions USA, and I said last week it was going to be close, and it was. Starting off, in the first 5 minutes, USA were given a penalty. Definitely a penalty. Rapinoe steps up to take it and gave USA the lead. But 2 minutes later, and Sabrun gets the ball from the keeper, tries to turn, and loses the ball to Garcia, who plays it to Hermosa, who scores. Really sloppy at the back by USA. I don't know whether there was no communication or she didn't check her shoulder, but it was really poor. 1-1. Both teams then had chances throughout the game, USA more than Spain. Then, in the 71st minute, another penalty was given USA's way. A long check by VAR, and even the ref got called over to re-watch it, but she still gave it. Now, this was very light and kind of similar to our shout against Cameroon, maybe a bit lighter even. I'm not even sure if it was a penalty or not. I don't know, it's one that I'm quite unsure of. It's so hard to see whether she did actually touch her or not. But the penalty was given, and Rapinoe goes the same way to give USA the lead once again. 2 penalties, 2 goals from the USA. Not the best performance, but they're through to the quarterfinals. Unlucky for Spain though, they did do very well. Definitely a team to watch in the future. On to Sweden versus Canada now, and this was always going to be a close one. Both teams were pretty similar. The final possession stat was 45% to Sweden and 55% to Canada, so it was extremely equal. Because of this though, there were little chances, and the only goal in the game came in the 55th minute after a speedy run and a nice ball in from Aslani into Blackstenius, left her one-on-one with a keeper, and with one touch, she kicked it over her into the goal. 1-0 to Sweden. In the 67th minute, Canada were given a way back in. VAR came into play and gave Canada a penalty for handball. From the others, yes, it was handball. Her arm was out and in an unnatural position, I guess. But again, she was so close to her, it's so hard to move your arm out the way, and she was twisting away from the ball so that it hit her back, but that meant her arm went towards it, and it was, like I said, in an unnatural position. But that's the way this rule goes. Do I still think the rule needs to be changed? Yes, I do. But anyway, Becky stepped up to take it. She went bottom left, and Lindahl makes a super save to keep Sweden ahead. And even better, she managed to keep 1 foot on the line, proving it is possible. Brilliant save. Then, in the 82nd minute, the referee gives a penalty Sweden's way. VAR came into play again, didn't even get the ref to review it, and it was ruled no penalty because of offside. Fair enough. They didn't need it though, as Sweden win 1-0 and progress to the quarterfinals. Italy then played China, and I expected this game to be a lot closer than it was. Italy scored in the 10th minute, but it was offside and so didn't count. It was close, but she was definitely off. But then, 5 minutes later, they do get one. Bonusea tries to slide the ball through, but it was deflected. The keeper hesitated, then slid in, and the ball falls for Giacinti, who puts it in for Italy. It was a nice goal, but I just want to talk about the keeper for a minute. So basically, she slid in to make the save, but she went feet first. I'm not sure why she did this. Like I said in the last one, I am actually a goalkeeper, and you're never taught to slide in feet first. You're always taught to go hands first. I don't know why she went feet first. First of all, that's dangerous. dangerous. Second of all, that's a red card offence. And then, to make it even worse, she doesn't even get the ball. That was a real nasty one. It could easily have been a red. It was at least a yellow, but no, nothing was given. I think that was poor refereeing. Again, a card should have been given of some sort because that was a really bad tackle. But anyway, Italy got close later on in the half, but a good save kept it at 1. Then, in the 49th minute, a poor clearance from China gave the substitute Gali a shooting opportunity from some distance. She struck it well with power and it kept low. She finished it right into the bottom corner. Really good goal. That's her 3rd goal so far in this competition, and all have been scored by coming off the bench. China knew they needed something and got into some great positions, but they just didn't have the strike needed. Another team that struggles to score. Italy make it into the quarters for the first time since the first World Cup in 1991. What a great performance by Italy so far this World Cup. How far can they go? And on to the final game now. The Netherlands played Japan, and this was a close one. The Netherlands started on top, and a corner in the 17th minute into the front post was flicked into the goal by Martins. 1-0 to the Netherlands. Japan came back right before half-time in the 43rd minute. A nice ball into Hasegawa from Iwabuchi gave Japan the needed equaliser. Their first shot on target, that was. They're certainly dangerous on the attack though. Really nice goal. And in the second half it was a different story. Japan were on top, and they certainly looked like scoring many times. They came close, hitting the bar, and some good saves kept them out. It was certainly looking like another game to go to extra time. But a Netherlands attack in the 88th minute hit the arm of the defender, and the Netherlands were awarded a last-minute penalty. Another harsh one, but consistency, I guess. It was handball. A rule is a rule. Still think they should change the rule. Heartbreak for Japan. And in the 90th minute, Martins steps up to take the win. 2-1. You know, I really feel bad for Japan. They were on top the whole half and really deserved a goal. But that's just how football goes, really. The Netherlands make it through to the quarterfinals. Right, so let's talk about the quarterfinals now. So the first quarterfinal to be played will be Norway-England. This is going to be a real tough game for us. Norway are a very strong side, and they looked really good against Australia. They do like to shoot from outside the box, so we really have to minimise our mistakes at the back so that they don't get that opportunity. They also looked very strong on penalties, so let's try and win in normal time. This game is to be played on Thursday at 8 PM. Come on, England. Then, the big one. Yep, it's happening. Hosts France are to play champions USA. Two big favourites. This is going to be a real good game. Who's going to win? I don't think either team performed their best in the last game. Then, Italy play the Netherlands. Will Italy surprise us again? I tell you what, Italy do have a good attack, and the Netherlands haven't looked great at the back, so it could happen. This will be really interesting. And finally, Germany play Sweden. Germany are the only ones not to concede in this competition so far, but Sweden had a good game against Canada. It will be really close. 4 big quarterfinals that could go either way. Who knows what's going to happen? If England win, we will face the winner of France vs USA. So, come on England. That rounds up episode 5. Here's hoping for a win against Norway. Let's hope it's not another game like the Cameroon game, because that was awful. Let's not talk about that, otherwise I'll get extremely frustrated again, and I'm sure you guys will as well. Excited to see and talk about the France-USA game. That's going to be a really good game for a quarter-final. Wow, that should probably be the final. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Female Football Focus and Twitter at FFFPodCST. And remember, you can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and you can now listen to us on YouTube. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you on the next one where we talk about all the quarterfinals and we find out who's in the semis. Will England make it, and who will win out of USA France? Come on England.